Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and oh man, Transformers, just at this point, I'm just going to come out and say it. Transformers as a franchise needs to go away for a while. And by a while, I mean a solid 5 to 6 years, if not longer. Come back with a reboot, start it all over again, and this time have the full multi-connected movies they want to do, have their cinematic universe, have the 14 films all fleshed out, give it time to gestate, to marinate, and to come to some kind of logical conclusion. That, to me, is the only way they're going to be able to salvage the franchise at this point in time. That is not what they're doing, and Paramount desperately needs Bumblebee to be a win. They desperately need it. Right now, Hollywood is in this very weird place when it comes to films. Everyone is rebooting, sequelizing, remaking everything. We saw this last weekend, that Flatliners, a remake no one asked for, flatlined upon release, $6 million. Whereas it, an adaptation that is based on a book from the 1980s, also had an early 1990s miniseries of the same name, but could also be considered an original film, just an original adaptation, I should say. Then it's pulling in 300 million. It made 17 million to come back out as the #1 movie, its third week out, and it's got legs. It's got legs. You've also got Kingsman: The Golden Circle pulling in 17 million off a 40 million opening weekend. That's a sequel, but it's not like the 5th movie in a franchise. It's the 2nd movie. And then American Made came out, and that's also doing pretty well for 17 million, which is an original story with Tom Cruise. So, well, it's an adaptation it's a biopic kind of. But anyway, the point is 17. They made millions of dollars this weekend. Not the greatest, but for September, that's pretty good. But you can tell they're 3 tonally different films, and they are all being, marketed to different audiences, and it's working. So how are those going to work where, let's say, The Last Night failed to connect with audiences as much as they wanted it to? It just remake stuff. Don't remake stuff anymore. Just, if you're going to do a sequel, do a sequel. If you're going to do an expanded universe, whatever you want to call it, then definitely have all that stuff laid out. But when it comes to Bumblebee, this is going to be an interesting one. This is the first spin-off film out of the Transformers lineup. And it's not directed by Michael Bay. It's directed by Travis Knight, who founded Laika, which is a fantastic studio. His father, by the way, is also like the co-founder of Nike. And so his studio is based in Oregon, and I just was actually living not far from there, so that's kind of cool. But he also did, Travis Knight directed Kubo and the Two Strings, which was a very well-made animated film. And his experience working with Laika and working on all those movies, they believe that he will be the best person to tell this kind of Iron Giant-esque story that's featuring Bumblebee. Now, this one is set in the mid-1980s, and we know that Bumblebee will be on Earth before the rest of the Transformers, which, all things considered, feels like it does break canon, considering the fact that in the first movie, we saw the Transformers come to Earth, but we didn't see which individual ones. We just happen to know that Bumblebee showed up. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, was he already here? Well, in this case, yeah. Now he is, even though that was never previously established in the first movie. So, all right. And he would have been here for at that point in time, 20 years, 22 years he would have been here hiding and still never learned to speak. I just never tinkered with it himself. There's things about the movie I don't like. But here's something else I don't like. And this is clearly a grab. Optimus Prime is going to be making an appearance. Well, maybe not Optimus Prime, but Peter Cullen is going to be making an appearance in the movie. He's got a voice cameo in some capacity. He'll be in the movie, and that's been confirmed. Now, I like this because I love Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, and he's done other voices as well. The dude is 74 years old. He may not be doing much more voice work down the road. He may not be doing, 74, I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm not trying to put anything out there. But the likelihood of retiring feels pretty high for him. So this could be one of the final outings. This could be one of the things, and they want him on board just so they can say this is, Peter Cullen's maybe final ride as Optimus Prime or something along those lines, at least in a cameo. But they also want to make sure it harkens back to the original 5 films, and they want to make sure that there's definitely those sort of things brought in. I don't know. I want it to be its own thing if they're going to do it. And I feel like they're so afraid of letting it be its own thing that they have to shoehorn in cameos. Because at the time, if Optimus Prime, 22 years before he comes to Earth, is going to be, is going to be out there, how is it going to work? Is it just going to be in the beginning of them sending Bumblebee off on a mission and then Bumblebee crashes here? And that's going to be the cameo appearance? Because that could be a thing. That is something I could see happening. But at the same time, it's like you look at Paramount and you look at what they've done with the movies, and you just want them to stop, but they're not going to stop. And Lorenzo di Bonaventura seems pretty happy about this. He actually did give a little bit of an interview where he praised Travis Knight. In fact, this is what he had to say. "We hired purposefully Travis Knight, who is a very distinct filmmaker. You can't compete with Michael, you're gonna lose. And I also think the audience wants something different all the time. Let's keep them interested. They're going to get a very emotional, complex story, a very tight story in terms of its location, in terms of its storytelling. In fact, it reminds me a bit of Iron Giant years ago when I did that movie at Warner Brothers. It just reminds me a little bit of that, where it was contained and yet didn't feel small." So you can see the tonal change they want to make with this, and maybe that is the right call. Maybe that is the right call, because we know there's 13 movies, or 13 movies, I guess you could say, in active development. We know that there was the writer's room led by Akiva Goldsman, or Goldsmith, and he wrote Transformers: The Last Knight. He also wrote The Dark Tower. Both of those failed in the box office. He's now working on Star Trek Discovery, which is hit or miss depending on who you talk to. And there's a problem there with him as a storyteller. He's not working. What he's doing right now is not working out very well. So I'm wondering if someone like Travis Knight, of whom I respect his ability to tell a good story, because Kubo was told very well, and everything Laika's done has been told very, very, very well. If he will be able to come in and craft a more intimate tale that focuses on one Autobot in the 1980s, crashed on Earth, and everything else, is this going to be like a bit of an Iron Giant scenario or a bit of an E.T. scenario? Steven Spielberg is executive producing on this thing. Is it going to be, more like an Amblin Entertainment style film from the 80s? Are we going to get a bit of that kind of feeling? And if they are going to go that route, I do feel like that would actually do pretty well for the franchise, for at least the film. I don't want to say the franchise. I don't want to say that. But the film as a whole, I feel that would probably be the best course of action. And the reason why I say that is because then it takes it out of the gigantic, Michael Bay directing with a megaphone while blowing a lot of stuff up and not caring about story or story structure or character development or complex emotions and things like that. Things that audiences, I think, at this point in time are craving. The big, directing with a bullhorn mentality works sometimes, and to be fair, 5 Transformers movies shows you that audiences have responded to that kind of filmmaking. But I think also based upon what I said earlier about like It and Kingsman and American Made, yeah, those are 3 separate films tonally and everything. But they've also found success in their own right. And that has a lot to do with the fact that they are more intimate in that regard. They're more, I don't even know if I want to say like they're smarter films, but they tell a better story. And when you have something like Transformers Age of Extinction, where they decide to start basically cloning Transformers, and they do this by replicating Transformium, which is the atom that makes the Transformers, and even when the idea of the name Transformium went back to the writer of the movie, and he was like, it's movie logic, it's movies, it's movies. It shows you that there is a very big lack of care. Now, I haven't seen Transformers: The Last Knight yet. It just dropped on home video this week. I'll probably give it a rent. No, check it out. It can't be any worse than Age of Extinction. And I happen to be a fan of the first 3 films. I think 1 and 3 were far better than the second one. 3 at least tried some new stuff, and I like that it went a lot darker. But 4 was just it was lazy, is the best way I can describe it. And 5 looked a bit better, but still also kind of maybe a little lazy. This one, if handled the right way, and especially with the person at the helm, won't be lazy. And if it's not and it's handled well, then maybe this will breathe new life back into the franchise. But the franchise going forward from there has to focus on those kind of stories. It cannot just be Autobots versus Decepticons over and over and over and over and over again, because these are huge multi-$100 million films, not Saturday morning cartoons that are condensed down to 22 minutes with commercials or without commercials. And so I don't know, but Optimus Prime being in this movie feels kind of forced, unless it's handled in a way that's just like the beginning of the movie, you know, Bumblebee, go off and seek blah, 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 and then that's it, you know, then that would be fine. And that's probably what they're going to do. But in the meantime, I don't know. And I've rambled on a lot about Transformers at this point. Part of me wants the franchise to go away. Part of me wants the franchise to do better. And I'm somewhere in the middle on that one. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Should they just kill off the franchise, stop production on Bumblebee, don't release it? Or do you think that someone like Travis Knight will be able to tell a compelling, interesting, character-driven story around Bumblebee? These are things I'm curious to know about. Let me know in the comments below. They should be very interesting. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.